Welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. Today we have for you a very special guest. We often chat with black belts and higher belts here. Today we have a blue belt for you, but he's not just any blue belt. This guy is amazing. He has created a jiu-jitsu apparel brand. You might have seen it around and about. And you may have also seen on our social media that we are now collaborating with this apparel brand, which is Mana, and we bring for you, he's from Phoenix MMA in Bacchus Marsh. As I said, he's a blue belt. He is Luke Andrew. Thanks for joining us, Luke.
Thanks for having me. Hey, guys.
It's awesome to have you here, Luke. Obviously, the Mana brand we will definitely get to, and we'll have a chat about that. I think you're, we all talk about working hard, but I think you're one of the hardest working guys in the jiu-jitsu arena at the moment, mate. With all the kilometers you're doing, like, driving to Brisbane and driving to Sydney and driving to Adelaide. So you're doing an amazing job with promoting Mana.
Thank you.
What got you into jiu-jitsu? Where did your jiu-jitsu journey start?
So jiu-jitsu, we started that. I originally started for Krav Maga, actually. So Phoenix offers Krav, and
so you're like a killer.
No, I started with Krav. But,
okay.
I basically got suggested, hey, why don't you come to jiu-jitsu? And that was it. Basically, after, I think it was 2 classes, I gave up the Krav, and I was like, this is it. This is jiu-jitsu is where it's at. And basically, since then I haven't looked back. And it was actually Ness, so my wife, that wanted to do the Krav. So it wasn't even a thing I was really interested in at all, to be honest. I wasn't even considering it. And then she just wanted me to go with her just so that she had someone to do it with. And then she actually dropped out of Krav as well. And then it was just me. So it ended up, she brought me to the gym and then she's left and I've stayed. So, but she's back into it now.
Oh, good. Good. How do you find that, having a partner that does jiu-jitsu?
Awesome. So good. So for long, obviously, I don't know if it's a common thing or if it's just me, but when you start jiu-jitsu, you can't stop talking about jiu-jitsu. And
that's not just you. No,
yeah.
That's most people, yeah.
And just coming home and sort of having that blank face stare back at you, just like, oh, here we go again, jiu-jitsu. That's completely changed since you started, obviously, because now she's the same. And most of our conversations, I'd say, if we're just sitting on the couch, turn into like, oh, how do I pass? What's the best way to pass guard? So it's amazing. I'm loving it.
Yeah, my oldest son started jiu-jitsu last year.
Awesome.
And so now, our dinner table conversations, much to the dismay of my other 2 sons who don't do jiu-jitsu, are mostly jiu-jitsu related now. So I understand entirely.
Definitely. And she started.
It must be a good way to get better, right? Like, you're kind of immersing yourself in it constantly. So
100%.
I mean, I know this with you, Kim. Like, for me, having conversations with Theo, like how I just feel that Theo's knowledge has just got better and better and better as well, So for you, Luke, it must kind of feel the same, like you're just bouncing ideas off each other the whole time.
Yeah, 100%. Well, for a lot of the time, I feel like a blue belt, like we're kind of bottom of the food chain sort of thing. But then when she asked me...
Hey, mate, there's white belts out there, mate. There's white belts out there. We're fine.
You're okay. But no, when she asked me questions, I genuinely feel like I can offer advice that matters. Like, I do know more than I know,
Yeah.
That's very cool, especially now that she started competing as well. Like, that's another aspect of it. She's fighting all the nerves, and obviously I compete as much as I can, so I'm quite used to that. And I can offer some good advice with that too. So it's amazing. I'm loving it.
Fantastic.
Ranked number 1 blue belt masters in Australia, aren't you, mate, at the moment?
I think it's just for grappling industries. I think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so. I could be wrong.
Mate, right up for that.
I think I realise I'm talking with 2 Kiwis here. So you're from New Zealand originally?
Yes.
When did you come out here?
I was actually born here. My parents are both from there, so I'm what they call a Mozzie. So So Molly from Australia. So it's like
No, you still kept the accent.
Ah,
Almost more so than Brentos.
He puts it on.
yeah, that's it. I really talk like this, mate. No, now I used to hang around a lot of Kiwis growing up, and like cousins and family. So I think I just sort of that's just where it came, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to change mine, Kim. So when I first came over to Australia, which was in '96, so when I first came over as a chef, I was cooking and calling orders, and it was like nobody could understand me. I felt like, people were like, mate, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay. So I had to get rid of the fish and chips and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's what happened.
You said, what did you say? 96. You didn't say 96.
96.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Every now and again. Yeah, it bounces back. If I hang around with a couple of Kiwis, it definitely gets stronger. If I go home, it definitely gets stronger. But I've I sort of found that I had to speak a little bit more Australian, and especially because I went to Queensland straight away. So we know what our awesome Queenslanders are like. So trying to get on the Queensland bandwagon a little bit with how to speak so people could understand me up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Luke, tell us a bit more about Mana. Like, how did that one come about?
Yeah, so that was it was a passion project, to be honest. So I'm an electrician. I've owned my own electrical business since 2016. And basically, I've just done that because I got out of high school, needed to do a job, decided I'm going to be an electrician. One thing I did know is whatever I did, I wanted to be self-employed. I wanted to do it myself. So that came along. I've been doing that, self-employed since 2016. And then we had Anna on the way. So my daughter, Anna. And it kind of just made me have a little bit of I don't want to say midlife crisis because I'm only 32, but like it just sort of made me reflect a little bit deeper as to what example I want to set for my daughter and just who I want to be as a person. And then that made me reflect on my job. And I kind of had I went on a bit of a tangent. I closed down the electrical business. I went and worked for someone for 12 months and realized I didn't like that. That wasn't for me. So by doing that, I wanted to gain back my time. My little bit of backstory, my father worked really hard for me. Well, not just for me, for our family. And as a result of that, something I felt as their child was I didn't really have much of a relationship with him, just purely on the fact that he was always working. And so for me personally, I think that hit me, which is why it led to me closing down that business, because I thought I would gain back that time. But working for someone didn't actually gain. I actually lost more time because now I was on someone else's clock. I couldn't just have a day off if I needed to. I couldn't. Yeah. It was actually worse. So then I started thinking, all right, what can I do that aligns with my values, is something that I'm passionate about, and that I would be proud of to carry out as an income for our family, like that I could do. So I came to jiu-jitsu. I came to graphic design. I've done sort of graphic design since high school, just dabbling, designing people's tattoos, designing logos. Every logo of mine I've designed, and every sort of brand and my website, everything I've done. So the one thing I actually didn't have a passion for was clothing, which is weird. But it's the one place that I could think to assemble the most passions into one place. So that's how Mana Fight Apparel was born. And I think now that I've sort of invested in coaches, like business coaches, branding coaches, it's proving to me that it didn't even need to actually be about clothing. So because what my coaches have called your why, which is basically why you do anything, why you get out of bed every morning, why you do everything that you do. And my why was to provide for my family and to be the best role model that I can personally be. And at the moment, the way I found I do that is just through clothing. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of just because my why is so strong, it's what will guarantee that whatever I do to achieve that won't fail, if that makes any sense. And So Mana Fight Apparel was born, and now I've actually developed a lot more of a passion for clothing than I ever knew existed. Everything I buy, even when I go to the shops, I'm looking at stitching, I'm looking at GSMs, thicknesses, how they feel, how they fit, the cuts. So now I'm a fashionista, I guess you could say.
It looks good on you too, mate. Just saying. So
Thank you. It looks on everyone. Just
all of yeah, this is true. All of your Mana apparel that you have, all the stuff I've seen, there's definitely a very high level of quality to it as well. And I think by keeping that quality high, it seems like you're drawing people into the Mana brand very, very well. So you've also now, as well as all of your fight apparel, you've got sponsored athletes too, right? So how did that first come around?
Sponsored athletes. So that's a little bit of a funny story in itself, in that I act, because it's such a passion project, I act a lot of the time before thinking too much into it. And so my sponsorship program is, I'd say, ridiculous, I guess. Basically, there's no requirements of my athletes, and I give them free stuff, pretty much. There's a lot behind that, and we can go into that if you want me to. But basically, I wanted people on the team. I didn't want to be like every other brand where you just basically put a billboard on your team. You just want them to represent you. You do this, and we'll give you discounts. We won't even give you free stuff. We'll give you discounts, or you accumulate enough points. I didn't want that, again, because it's in line with my values. I thought, what sponsorship program can I create that's in line with that? So my athletes all represent, to me, I'm lucky enough that I'm also on a small enough scale that I can personally be involved in selecting my athletes and in a lot of decisions that we make. So my athletes, I actually, at the moment, like to talk to my athletes. So example, with Trio, I went and had a coffee with him beforehand and just sort of explained what the brand is, asked him, what do you want to get out of the brand, explain where we're at, what we could provide. Antonio, obviously, everyone knows Antonio. Jamie used to train at Phoenix with me, so I knew his life and who he is. And yeah, I basically just asked who I thought was Mana material. And obviously, that's where it gets hard, is that there's so many people in jiu-jitsu that are Mana material, which is what I found to be a problem that I personally face. Because one thing I didn't want to do is just have an onslaught of people, again, then turning into that billboard sort of vibe. I wanted to keep it at, these people are special, and yeah, they live Mana day in, day out, whether they're on or off the mats. So that's basically where that was born from.
Hey, Luke, there'll be a whole bunch of people that won't quite understand it. Can you explain what Mana actually is, mate?
Sorry, yeah. So I didn't actually realize it's got such depth in many, like, Islander or Polynesian languages. I obviously only knew it from Māori background. And basically your Mana, it's so hard to translate into English. And you can jump in at any time, correct me if your understanding is different, because everyone's different, so no one's wrong, right? But how I see Mana is, it's basically your spirit. It's what drives you. Again, and it's alignment with the brand, which is why it's so beautiful that the name came before I even realized sort of the real understanding of the brand, if that makes sense. And so your Mana is, it's your spirit. It's your power. It's who you are as an individual, but also who you are in a group. It's just, it's a very powerful word, and it's hard to translate exactly into English. What's your understanding? What does Mana mean to you?
It's similar to what you're talking about. I think when I talk about Mana, I probably use the word strength a little bit more than what you do. You talk about the spirituality side of it. I kind of use more of a strength side.
Yep.
And then that strength is coming from your ancestors, your family, you know, everything that's internal to you.
Yep.
I find, like, for me, that's what I identify Mana as. And then through that, it's what you draw into yourself, you know. So it's the way that you draw people to you.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that's what Mana is. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. That's exactly right. And it's so, what's the word? So yeah, strength. So another way that people can receive it is exactly right. Your strength and your pride. You do things with mana. You walk into a room and your mana should be felt. A perfect
It's
example.
kind of like your energy.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's the thing. It doesn't actually translate into English, so it's more of a feeling. So everything that's been said is correct. But it's in that sort of vibe. Yeah.
So it's still relatively young. Maybe this is too early to ask this question, but what sort of lessons have you learned so far from it?
So many lessons. What have I learned? So there's been a lot of personal lessons, but in terms of business, don't rush into so many things. maybe
stop giving away so much free stuff.
Yeah. Nick Parker, if you're watching this, that's for you. Nick, one of the guys that does Grappling Australia, he always tells me off because someone will come up to him and go, "Oh, look at my new rash guard, look at my new T-shirt," and he's like, "How much did you pay for it?" It's like the first thing he asks is, "How much did you pay for it? Did you pay full price? Did you pay anything?" And the funny thing is, a lot of time they did actually get it for free, but that's it's a bad habit I have. Lessons. And just keep a big one I would say, which is I'd say both in business but also personally, is just to follow through with things, just to keep pushing. Everything is the right answer. So obviously it's the same in jiu-jitsu. I guess you would say is that whatever you do is the right answer, whether that comes in success or whether that comes in lessons. It's like it's always the right thing to do. And I something I've learned is that you shouldn't let fear hold you from that. Everything I've done in Mana has the potential to be the wrong decision. Driving across the country using thousands of dollars in fuel and kilometers to not even make enough sales to cover those costs. People could see that as a loss, right? A lot of people would see that as a loss. But doing that has also what led me to having a rash guard on CJI, because I got to meet Lucas Kennard. I got to train at SWA and build that relationship with him enough that I could message him when I found out he got invited to ADCC. Just that in itself, that I could DM him and he would look at, you know what I mean? Like that in itself. And I was like, "Hey, do you want a rash guard for ADCC?" And then it was like, yes. And then swapped over to CJI, and I happened to get a rash guard on the biggest grappling event in history. So I would argue that taking action and not letting fear control your decisions is probably one of the biggest things that I personally pulled from the lessons so far. I think I'm only not even 2 years old yet. 2 years old in November.
And is this kind of, one of these garage setups, right? So you started in your garage, and then like you see all the memes on Facebook or Instagram where it's like, that's where Amazon started, that's where Facebook started, that's where... So like in 4 years' time, we're going to be like, I remember Luke, remember that guy? We don't see him anymore, but his brand is everywhere. And he doesn't give shit away anymore.
Well, I made sure I actually took those photos of so it was in the room I'm in right now, actually. You couldn't see the floor. It got to the point, it started, what did it start at? It was always in here. This is the space I designed for it, but it started at 2 boxes, and then it got to the point where you couldn't see the floor anymore. So we had to move, and I made sure I took those photos. They look, it looks like those starting photos, to be honest. It looks like,
What was the first item that you produced, mate, and why did you choose that one specifically?
So the first item was the ranked rash guard, which is still the same one you see today. I want to keep that as a product. Again, I'm not really like a fashion person, so I didn't really know about the whole collections. Things come, things go. That's how you get people to buy them. But I don't think I'm going to do that with the signature rash guard. I think I'm going to keep that forever as a product. Again, just for its mana. You know what I mean? It's what started us. And I feel like no matter how big we
Yeah.
get, and I do have big ambitions and big goals, I want that to just always be the signature, which is actually why I've called it, even from the very start, the signature ranked Mana short sleeve rash guard. Any people trying to start a clothing brand, do not go ranked for your first item. Do not. There's a story in that too. I called Nick from Jitsi Club when I was thinking about starting it. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to test my theory in that I believe everyone in jiu-jitsu is easygoing, easy to talk to, and more than willing to help, regardless of whether you're an opponent, I guess you could say. You know, I'm another clothing brand. So I literally just looked up his number, called him direct. He answered the phone, and he gave me, I think it was about 45 minutes of his time. She didn't, that's just how long the phone call went for. I'm sure he would have talked for longer. And yeah, he just told me everything that I asked. What should I do? Do I do this? Do I do that? I was looking at finger tape at the time. He was like, don't do finger tape. I can tell you that. But yeah, one of the things he said was don't do ranked, but I'd already done it by then. And obviously the reason behind that is that to get one of each size, you have to order one of each color, one of each cut. So I do men's and women's and youth. And yeah, what was meant to be a small order worked out to be, for my very first order, I think it was about a $7,500 investment. It was,
yeah, for sure.
It was huge. But I think that was also a massive choice in that it was a moment for me to sit back and say, am I giving this my all or am I going to half-ass it?
Yeah.
And here we are.
You could easily have just gone, like, as you say, half-assed and gone, look, I'll just get a couple of them and I'll spend 1,000 and I'll see what happens. And, but I think when you put a financial investment into something, that kind of, it really puts everything on the line, right? Like, you're passionate about it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of passion in a lot of different things, and people don't always put money towards that. So when you put money towards a passion, I think that speaks volumes. And the Mana brand is definitely getting out there.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, I'm putting a lot of work into it, so I'm hoping it's getting out there.
It's funny that you mentioned Nick, because we have had him on the podcast previously as well. And I think, he talked about those ranked rash guards and how he's still got so many, especially brown. The brown rash guards don't seem to sell very well. I don't know whether there's not a lot of brown belts or they just don't buy the rash guards.
From my experience, I think they're all just looking for black. You know what I mean? Now that they're brown, they're just zoned in on black.
Yeah.
Because
I've got my two brown belt rank rashies. I'll keep these forever, and then I'll buy 50 black ones when I get there.
Exactly. Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So is the goal then, Luke, to eventually give away the electrician business and full-time?
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. I was, for a time, thinking, trying to think of it like a business perspective and thinking, I'll keep it going, but I'll just hire people to run it for me. But from my goals, I think I won't need to do that anyway. I want Mana to be all of my time. And I think no matter how much I could put time aside to it for someone else and pay for someone else, it'll always be there. It'll always be on my mind. It'll always take up my time, whether that's a segment, a small segment, or 50%. And I want Mana to take 100% of me, to be honest, in terms of my business time, and to be the thing that presents our family with the life that I want to have.
Knowing you, I don't know you super well, Luke, but I know you a little bit, right? And I think what I've seen probably over the last, let's say, 12 months, is you've actually, you've really incorporated Mana into your life.
Yeah.
I think your life journey has actually changed, right?
100%.
Am I correct in saying that? Can you tell us a little bit about how, not just starting Mana, but you actually really encompassing Mana? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey over the last sort of, 2 years of having it, but, you've made some big decisions in your life too, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I think. Again, I was kind of thinking today as I thought, what am I going to say on the podcast, right? I was pretty nervous, to be honest. First podcast, I was shitting bricks. So I thought, what am I going to say? What if they ask me about the brand? And
Hey Luke, hey Luke, sorry mate, cut you off. Just on that, we were also Adele's first podcast, mate. So you could have ADCC ahead of you. You never know.
I mean, I am number one in grappling industry's blue belt.
You're saying there's a chance.
Yeah. So yeah, Mana has definitely. I think that's again. It's just everything's just showing me that this is the right choice. Basically, everything that I've done, because a lot of it didn't start at Mana, the brand. A lot of it started at, like I said, the brand came from me reflecting what I want to be in life, and then it led to the birth of Mana because of the values. And so, a lot of what I've done, how would you say? It's like, yeah, exactly. It's since I've reflected on the values that I want to portray and who I want to be, it's led to me carrying out the essence of Mana, but not on purpose, not because I'm trying to be Mana, not because I'm trying to be the clothing brand Mana, but because I've just had this deep reflection, and now everything I do is the same essence in which I've put into Mana. That it's all happening, to be honest. Does that make sense?
Journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
It's the journey, right? Like you're
Yes.
actually, like you're on the path now, and you're embracing that Mana and what it means to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, you're on the path, and that's everything from what I've seen. That's you continuing to step up as a dad. It's continuing to step up as a partner. It's continuing to step up in jiu-jitsu, stepping up in your business, and stepping up in your health. Like I think that to me is what I've seen as an outsider looking in, and then being there for your, like, not just your athletes, but for your friends as well, mate. Like that's what I've really noticed. So, I think what you've done with the brand, but what you continue to do for yourself and for your family, mate, it really does come through.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. But yeah, even like what you're saying, actually, even as a person, just consciously, not everyone. I mean, I feel like I'm a pretty nice person now, but I wasn't always who I am now, And so, like, what you said, like, just consciously, even your thoughts, just always cleaning them up, I guess, making them positive. For me, again, we'll go back to like just the fear, just ignoring all those little voices that are in the back of your head telling you don't do something. From now on, pretty much when I feel that, I actually run towards it. And again, that's probably because of this whole deep thing that's led to Mana Fight Apparel, and then the fact that I've acted out on that has further empowered that thought process in me. So yeah, that's I guess that's a big thing that's come from me. I was what was I when I started taking care of myself? I was 120 kilos, I think. And then I decided, no, this isn't good. This isn't ideal. And now I'm entering grappling on Saturday under 84. So it's like, yeah.
So you were 120 when you started jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Wow.
When did I start jiu-jitsu? About the same time as you, I think, Brentos. Well, how long? I think it was like 4 years I've been doing jiu-jitsu now.
Just before COVID?
I think, I started before that. I think I started for my 45th birthday, so I'm 51, so 6 years.
Okay, yeah. I've been doing it about 4 years.
Yeah. So, and just to sort of pump up our own tires a bit, or to blow our own trumpet, can you tell our listeners a bit about the Roll or Die T-shirt that you're collaborating with us on?
Definitely. I'm keen for this one. Roll or Die podcast tees. So they look fresh. Just at the moment, we've just got the samples. So we've got the digital versions, obviously, and we've all gone through our meet and we've approved the designs, and I'm very happy with them. They're going to come out very nice. So
we've got some pre-orders coming in. That's how we're promoting it, guys. So people who are listening, if you want to show your appreciation for the Roll or Die podcast, I think we are probably one of the only podcasts in Australia that comes out every week with new content all the time. We've been doing it for about 4.5 years, probably about the same time, Luke, that you've been doing jiu-jitsu.
There you
We've been
go.
around for. There you go.
Yeah.
So that's meant to be.
Yeah.
And we're really looking to, I guess, get our name out there. And we thought, who better to align with than someone like Mana that really seems to embody a similar sort of thing to what we're trying to do here in the Roll or Die podcast. So we really would appreciate if you guys can get onto that pre-order and get your t-shirt in.
Yeah, definitely. Well, by the time, I'm not sure when this is going to get released, but they might have already be out and about by then. We'll see how we go.
Yeah,
You never know.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully the pre-release is still going, so people can still jump on and order them and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
From my perspective, dealing with you, Luke, and Mana Fight Apparel, like, it's been very seamless. So everything from the designs, the logos, you talking us through, like, people might be surprised at this, but I'm definitely not a fashionista. So you talking through, the design program and what sort of cut of t-shirts and all these sorts of things, things that I hadn't really thought about. You covered those bases really well. So when you, or if you are looking at working with Luke at some stage, it was very seamless, but I'm super excited for the t-shirts that we've got coming out, mate. They do look good. Obviously I'll be super proud to wear Roll or Die t-shirts for sure, but the style looks good, the cut looks good, the fabric will be beautiful. They'll be really nice to wear. The design on it looks awesome, so I'm really pumped about it, mate. So thanks for the work you've put in. There's still more work to do, but so far that they really are looking great, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, on that, I think the reason that I developed that process that we went through design was the fact that I'm from the exact same understanding of fashion. And so all the things that I've learned that I'm amazed with, I'm like, oh, what? You can have a different cut t-shirt and it's got a name? Like, that's where I think I was like, well, people need to know, because gym owners, you guys aren't, you knew as much as I did. And I've only learnt through going through this for 2 years. Whereas, gym owners mostly is who I collaborate with. But it's just anyone that owns an organization. Generally, they're in the same boat as us. They don't have that understanding of cuts and GSMs, and all that jazz. Even just all the things that we can do. Like those, I don't know if you've seen the embossed crew necks, which is just like the raised graphics jumpers. People are amazed by that even. So it's just like, just showing you that stuff, just saying we can do this, you can do that. But yeah, your design for the tees, it's been fun working on that. It's a very, very cool tee.
Looks sharp, eh? Looks sharp.
I can't wait. I'm going to buy one. I might buy a couple.
And we're not going to be giving them away.
Yeah. Well, don't put me in charge then. Don't put me in charge.
But we'll be able to stock them. We'll be able to post them out and all those sorts of things, right? So if you are, further afield around Australia, New Zealand, any of those sorts of places, where all of our listeners are, we'll definitely be able to get you t-shirts out. So, and probably, to make sure, get one for you and then one for your training partner, So
yeah,
don't order one, order two.
Yeah, that's right. Get one for your coach. They'll love that.
Get one for your coach. Get one for the person who cleans the mats.
Yeah,
get one for the receptionist.
Promotion. Get me a Roll or Die t-shirt.
Yes, and this is just the beginning to our listeners. So we're starting off with the t-shirts, and we are hoping to carry on with Mana into perhaps other lines of apparel, also Roll or Die. So please get behind it to support us. We're just a little podcast here, but we could really use your support to help show your appreciation and things like that. So please do get behind it.
Even
sorry, go on.
I was going to say, even just raising awareness, that about the podcast, that's huge in itself. Like people showing their support, which is what I found with Mana. People are just purchasing and representing, raises the question, who's Roll or Die? Like, that's an interesting tee. And now the conversation started and Roll or Die grows. You guys all grow. Yeah. Everyone grows. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I wanted to ask you a question unrelated to Mana, and I realised because as I said, I guess we don't have a lot of blue belts on.
Yeah.
There is that, in jiu-jitsu, there's the blue belt curse, the blue belts that quit jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You guys are both still doing jiu-jitsu. So I guess it's a question for both of you. Like, have you had a period where you thought about quitting, or no, you've always wanted to keep going through? And if you did have that period, how did you get through it?
You want to go first, Brentos?
No, you go first, Lukey.
What's today? Wednesday. Tuesday night, yesterday. I had the crappiest night at training. I was like, oh, this sucks. Like, nah, it's no, I wouldn't say I've ever felt like quitting, especially since getting blue. I reckon I would put it down to I compete, and I love competing. Just that rush you get, just the fact that you get to test your skills against other people, and that, I think that's what's probably kept me through a lot. Plus the gym, obviously, your community. You go to training with these guys, you become like family. And now, I just love hanging out with them. Even you get to choke them out and stuff. It's great. That's it. What about you?
I can honestly say I've never ever thought about quitting.
Yeah.
It's never popped into my head. I struggle, not struggle. I love going to jiu-jitsu. It's very, very rare that I have a time where I don't want to go. Like I can't really even remember where I'm like, I don't really want to go tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
So even though, I've got a knee injury at the moment, and I'm still going and training. So I struggle to be away from the place. I put that into a very, very clear level of perspective, though. For instance, my wife is the absolute first thing in my world. And if she ever turns around and says, hey, can you stay home tonight? It's like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But in the years that I've been doing jiu-jitsu, it's probably happened maybe twice.
Yeah.
Where she's like, have you got jiu-jitsu tonight? I'm like, yep. She's like, could you stay home? I'm like, of course I can.
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
Yeah.
But it's jiu-jitsu is in my diary.
Yeah.
There are allocated times that I go to jiu-jitsu. It's not like, oh, maybe I'll go tonight, maybe I won't. Like, it's literally in my diary.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've definitely never thought about quitting, Kim. And my theory on it is, I think once you sort of get to that blue belt stage, perhaps you put 3 years in, or 4 years in, or 2 for some of these young athletes, and maybe their lives have just changed that wee bit. Maybe they're higher up the ladder at work, or maybe they've got a new partner, or whatever it might be, and then that time becomes a little bit more precious somewhere in there. So jiu-jitsu takes that back step in their life. But yeah, for me, no, like it's jiu-jitsu is one of the priorities in my life. And that's where I keep it,
Definitely.
I consider myself, I had this conversation quite a long time ago with my coach Link, and Link said, like, I don't do jiu-jitsu. I am a jiu-jitsu competitor. And I think that mindset is a good mindset, because I do compete. Yeah. So when I speak to people, I will say, like, I'm a jiu-jitsu competitor. Yeah. It's not like I do jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Like, there's more to it for me than just doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting mindset sort of shift as well. But again, the same sort of reasons for you too, Luke. Like, I love my gym. I love the people in the gym. I love my coaches. I love my teammates. It's a phenomenal place to be. And when you're around that environment all the time, like, I don't know why you'd quit.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you have hard times and you have moments where it might suck a little bit when you're being squashed, but that's just part of it, right? Like, that's just one of those things that brings you back, I think, Kim.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I'm good.
You guys are sort of, I hear you both kind of talking a lot about community. So would you say, I guess, if people are listening who might be in that funk, blue belt or otherwise, maybe consider having a look around at another gym, maybe that's not the right gym for you, because it sounds similar for both of you that you really enjoy your teammates and your training environment.
Yeah.
And so it's not even been a factor that you've considered because you just you enjoy it so much.
Yeah, I think it was a big part of it, but I think regardless of the community, if it wasn't like if you were just like what sort of you said, Link said, if you were just doing jiu-jitsu, I don't know if it would prioritize itself enough that you would maintain like that would be placed there. Even if it was, so example, if I was at Phoenix and I did jiu-jitsu, it just wasn't part of my identity. I just did it. I think even though I love the people there, I don't think it would be enough to hold me there. So, I mean, I think it would definitely play a part. I think it'd definitely be a big part of it. But I just think it's how you prioritize your jiu-jitsu, you know? Yeah, if it's a priority, I think even if you're in the wrong place, I think it'd be enough to hold you there if it was, you know, if it was who you were, if you loved jiu-jitsu as a part of you, I think it'd hold you through. I think that's just on the individual, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of I agree a little bit and I disagree a little bit.
Yeah.
I think if you're in the wrong place, you get to a stage where you actually realize you're in the wrong place and then you need to move.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in doing that, that's also in some way very, very, or it can be very hard to do.
Definitely.
You know, especially if you're a loyal person
Yeah.
And you've built up this relationship. Because at the end of the day, if you are leaving a gym, it is a relationship breakup.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
And you could still have a loving relationship with someone that you've broken up with. Like, you know, it's not to say that it always ends badly, because it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I think if you are struggling with jiu-jitsu, perhaps looking elsewhere, finding another team to join, that could be
definitely.
It could be a path that you could wander down.
Yeah.
But I also think that you don't have to compete. You know, we've got guys at the gym that'll probably never compete.
Yep.
Or maybe they've competed before and then they've found out that, hey, competing is actually not for me.
Yep.
But they do their 3 days a week and they love that. And it gets them out of the house. It clears their head. It gives them the outlet for whatever it is that they need. So
and they're great training partners too for the people that do compete. You know, we need everybody. You can't do this sport alone.
Yeah.
So 100%. They're just as valid.
Yeah.
Sometimes more so than the people that compete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I roll with a few of the guys who don't compete. We've got a guy called Mitch who's a purple belt, and Mitch bashes me. I'm like, hey man, you should compete. You're really good. He's like, no, I've got no interest in it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh my god, like he's a legend. He's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
He bashes me, Brenton. He bashes us all.
Him, he's just so good.
Yeah.
And such a nice guy, such a warm, caring person.
When he's not strangling you.
When he's not strangling you. You know, it's like he's got one of the best triangles going around.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh mate. But I think back to that question, Kim, it's longevity in jiu-jitsu is tough, right? Like to get to, like, you've been doing this for a long time, Kim, and longevity, like how many people have you seen come and go? Like it gets crazy, doesn't it? So I think from my perspective, I think belts are important. I think looking forward is important, but it can't be the only thing that you're doing it for.
Yeah.
It's too hard just to try to do, you know, jiu-jitsu to get the next belt. I think it's way too hard to do that.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to set goals and find out where you're at and ask your coach and try to get better. And if you're not getting supported in your club, then maybe finding another club or finding another coach that will support you.
Yeah.
Might be a path that you could go down to stay in jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors, Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that you can try. Again, if you're a blue belt or whatever belt in the slump, it's like even just cross training. You know, I don't know. It depends on how your gym feels about that stuff. But it's like, again, if you don't think the gym's all right for you, you should be able to cross train. I feel personally. And if that's not like if that's not accessible, then maybe that's speaking volumes too, you know, about that whole community. Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. Well, yeah, look, no breakups here
Yeah.
for us. Roll or Die is here for the longevity, as is Mana, and we're really, really grateful to have the opportunity to collaborate with you and to, you know, put our name out there a little bit more into the community. So,
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
as we said, please buy our t-shirts, buy Mana Apparel, and get behind both of us.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words for our listeners?
I actually do. I think I want to just give a bit of a shout out. I've never really said thank you to everyone. Like I post about it. I do say thank you as I'm going, but I just thought this would be, as we were talking, I just thought this would be a good opportunity. There's been a couple of standouts. Obviously, all of my athletes, Chris Trio, Antonio, Jamie Kadek, just for living Mana in their day-to-day life. Thank you for that. I also want to say thank you. A big thing for me. Yeah, that's nice. A big thing for me is grappling industries. They deserve a mention. They've been huge for me, and they've been nothing but helpful. And I really appreciate Ben and Nick. Obviously, the guys that actually own grappling industries worldwide, but these guys run the Australian grappling industries, and Mana would not be where it is if it wasn't for them doing what they've done for me, which is they just gave me that platform to give me the confidence. You know, I just messaged Ben one day and I found out who he was, who ran it, and I just messaged him as a random I actually started the brand as a white belt. So just saying, hey, bro, can I set up a stall? And I paid for that, did that. He loved me. He was like, hey, do you want to do next year? And here we are. I'm traveling around Australia, giving my brand to Australia and now actually the world since Lucas Kennard. We're now international. We've had people buy that from all over the world. And Phoenix Training Center, obviously the gym that grew the passion for me. Just irreplaceable what they've done for me, for my family, because that's what's led to all of this. So yeah, just want to say thank you to everyone. I appreciate obviously everyone that's bought anything as well and supports the brand in whatever form, whether that's buying stuff, sharing stuff, it all makes a massive difference. Collaborations. Thank you guys for having me on. This is awesome. My first podcast. Hopefully I did all right. Let me know in the comments.
You did super, Luke. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you? Where can we find you on the socials?
One sec, I just realized I forgot Jamie, I think, as my athlete. Jamie's obviously...
You did say Jamie. No, you did say his name. Don't give him too much time. Don't give him too much airtime, mate.
Yeah. What was that, sorry? Your question?
Jamie's a legend.
Yeah.
Where's the best place for people to find you, mate, on the socials?
In terms of finding us, it would be Instagram. In terms of contacting me, would be WhatsApp. But I don't know if my number is easy to find out there. I've tried to make it accessible. If not, just it's all me behind the socials. So yeah, just Mana_Fight_Apparel on Instagram, or obviously have my personal Instagram as well. But either way, it all comes to me. Best way to get to me.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, you did amazing. First episode, first podcast, hopefully not the last.
That's it.
As we said, we do have t-shirts out. We will have the link in this episode. And you want to do the wrap up there, Brentos?
Yeah, sure. Again, guys, thanks Luke for coming on, mate. You really did well, mate. You spoke beautifully. You spoke with passion. So all of the things that you are encompassing as a Mana Fight Apparel, you definitely put across that in the podcast today. So well done.
Thank you.
Guys, please like, rate, and share the podcast. It helps us grow along with these awesome t-shirts that we're going to be putting out soon. And then we've been saying this recently, like, continue to share each other's posts, continue to share your jiu-jitsu journey with people. Jiu-jitsu is just going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So make sure you're a part of that. You know, there's a lot of people that can offer some amazing insight into jiu-jitsu. We try to do our best to promote it on the Roll or Die podcast, and we always appreciate you sharing our stuff. So please continue to do that. We've had some awesome feedback on a whole bunch of the podcasts we've been doing lately, which has been nice. So please keep doing that. But we'll leave it there. I appreciate you guys. Much love. And we'll see you on the next episode. See you soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you all.